Welcome to another episode of Behind the Business presented by Gore Mutual. I'm your host, Ian McLean, President and CEO of the Greater Kitchener-Waterloo Chamber of Commerce. This podcast is recorded on the traditional territory of the Neutral, Anishinaabe, and Haudenosaunee peoples. Each week I sit down for candid conversations where we go beyond the boardroom and behind the business to uncover the real stories of Waterloo Region's business community. Today we're joined by André Killingbeck, the 2025-2026 Ambassador for Kitchener-Waterloo Oktoberfest, and the first male ambassador in the program's history. At just 24 years old, André brings a unique blend of healthcare experience, community leadership, and cultural pride to this one-of-a-kind role. By day, he works as a care access coordinator at CBI Home Health. By night and often on weekends, he's representing one of the largest Bavarian festivals outside of Germany. But this role is about much more than celebration. The Ambassador program is built on 4 pillars: community, festival traditions, giving back, and personal passion. André sees his role as balancing joy and responsibility, tradition, and inclusion. Today we'll talk about leadership at a young age, what it means to represent a region that both celebrates its heritage and looks out for one another, and how events like Oktoberfest shape not just our economy, but our sense of belonging. Let's go behind the business with KW Oktoberfest Ambassador, André Killingbeck. Well, André, thank you so much for spending some time with us today, and welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Now, you're 24 years old, just turned 25.
Just turned 25. Yeah.
You're working in healthcare, which is, very people-centered, right?
Yes.
It's about service to others. What shaped you into someone who raises their hand for service and community-oriented things?
Yeah, definitely. I wasn't really a person that would have been like that through my whole life. I was a really shy kid, honestly. I struggled with mental health really bad. My parents got a divorce that made me go down. And as I got older, I just started realizing I don't want to, shelter away and push my way, back away from, the world. And so I looked at people like my mom. My mom's a nurse, and she, is a big inspiration for me to do that. So I looked at different jobs. I needed a job at the time, and I got into Paramed was the company I was working for before, doing this kind of the same thing I'm doing now. Is more like intake flow, so getting people on board with the company. At first, it was kind of, honestly, I'm not going to lie to you, it was a little bit of just a gig. I was working for money, right? I was still young. I think I was 18, straight out of high school. And then I started realizing, whoa, I actually care about this stuff. I care way more than I want. And then I looked at my mom and how much she spent her, past 30 years being a nurse and how, what that means. And then my great grandmother moved in with us, and I got to see it firsthand at home. And I was like, holy smokes, community is so important and helping others. So that really got me driven. And then I changed my whole view on life, and I got more out there. And now I'm way more to raise my hand to community and help out for sure.
So for listeners that may not know, follow Oktoberfest, except for the parade and the festivities, what does the ambassador role? So this is the KW Oktoberfest ambassador role. What do you do, and what does that look behind the scenes? What's your role within the festival?
Yeah, so as an ambassador for, if you Googled it, would be the person representing a brand. They're the face of the company. But I see it as more than that, because it is more than that. You're getting people engaged with the community in the festival. You're, advocating for diversity in these settings. So in my role, I have to do a lot more than just, show up to the festival and say, hey guys, I'm here, right? I have to talk to people and get them engaged and listen to them and hear what they want to say and what they think the festival should be. And we got to do stuff all year round. People think that Oktoberfest in KW is a 3 to 4 week event, but it's not. It's nonstop. We do it all year round. Yeah. So I do a lot. I have an event tomorrow doing Oktoberfest, and it's February. Yeah. It's a lot.
So the program operates on, in 4 different pillars, if you will. There's the community aspect. There's festival traditions, which is more the fall portion of it.
100%.
There's the giving back, and got lots of partnerships, whether it's the food bank or others, but there's a giving back portion. And then there's the personal passion that they're trying to articulate. What does Oktoberfest mean to each individual? So which of those 4 pillars, community, festival, traditions, giving back, and personal passion, resonates most with you right now, and why?
I think a little bit of each, community, as I said before, is really important to me now. I love KW, and it's one of my favorite cities in the world that I've been to at least. So community is really important, getting people involved. I think that giving back is super important because you have to give back to your community, especially if you can, right? If you can give back, then you build so much unity. I think, personal passion's super important too. Like, I grew up in the German clubs, so this means a lot to me. I have a drive to, help people, and then also, like, my job, I'm helping people and getting people, more involved in the community. So that's a personal passion. And then, like, the traditions, again, like growing up in the German clubs is super, I got to see it firsthand, and now I got to, pass it on to people that may not know, and they get to experience that throughout the years and come to the festival and, be part of such a cool tradition, and they get to see the stuff that we do for the community.
So part of this is both the ambassador role, but Oktoberfest itself has evolved significantly over the last number of years, actually. How does this ambassador program help modernize the festival, but still at the same time reflecting the heritage, which is obviously the German heritage and the cultural part of Oktoberfest, but the ambassador program, how does that help modernize it?
Yeah, the ambassador program gets, it's a young role. I'm pretty sure you have to be 19 to 28. I believe it could be 18. I'm pretty sure 19 because there's alcohol involved in some of these festive halls. And, so you get a lot of these younger people to come see it. And we get to, we're a bit more in touch with, cell phones and we get to showcase that. So that's really big and important to, like, modernize that and show people. But I also think, like, talking to people, we get to go out and talk to people, and that's really important, at these festivals, and help bring that to light. And we have tons of ideas on how we can, change with the times and make it more inclusive and still keep all these traditions that people love, like lederhosen. Like, I'm wearing a pair of lederhosen under this desk. You can't see it, but I am. But
Okay, and you said Oktoberfest is a place that everyone should feel like they belong. And I think that's one of the things that I've observed, and I'm part of the community in ambassadors program myself, or to help from business, different leaders around the community to help the festival. So everyone, I think that's been a focus is making sure everyone, whether it's different cultural groups, different ages, different, aspects of the community, all feel like there's a place for them on Oktoberfest. How do you translate that into action in terms of, so it's not just saying the words, but it actually comes out in what the festival's doing?
Yeah, I think for sure, going out and talking to people is, like, the number one important thing, because you have to listen to people, and see how they feel about the festival, to be able to then grow the festival and show. I want everyone to feel welcome. That's why we have, like, the Wilkenplatz, where it's free and everyone can go downtown and see it, and we have little sections that are, like, not in the main area, where people that might be not so super comfortable with big crowds can go out, and then they can explore, and then you just listen to them and you talk to them, and you shape Oktoberfest to be more inclusive. And how do we bring different cultures and different aspects to the festival to make it a community festival, not just with all the traditions, just that plus the community. I know they have, like, Pride-Toberfest, and now we have Dog-Toberfest and all these things. Like, how do we keep going with stuff like that we can bring in that makes people feel loved by the community and involved?
The Behind the Business podcast is made possible through the support of our title sponsor, Gore Mutual. Proudly Canadian, Gore Mutual has stayed true to one purpose for more than 185 years: insurance that does good. It's the reason they exist. They believe that when we focus on being good, doing good, and spreading good, we all thrive together. We're grateful for their continued commitment to our local communities and the positive impact they make every day. For more information, visit goremutual.ca. So you're in healthcare. So from a healthcare lens, do you think large-scale community events play a role in mental well-being and social connection? Like, I mean, one of the things that, and maybe partly owing to the pandemic, but I would say even before is, even though we're kind of a growing community, in some ways there was less personal connection. I think certainly COVID in that period when we really couldn't be together made that worse. So how does this type of widespread community event help us with mental well-being and making those connections?
Yeah, I think definitely a big setting like it is can be daunting, but it's also really good when you get out there and you feel the love and people are talking to you and you're celebrating together, and then you're as a community. And like I said on the last question you asked me was, like, we have the smaller events like Oktoberfest. So maybe there's people that are, not comfortable with a lot of people, but they can go to the smaller down the street Oktoberfest and then hang out with the dogs and get a smaller interaction where they'll warm them up to get to the bigger interaction, which really helps. Staying inside, especially, the pandemic was a scary time for a lot of people, because a lot of people at first thought, I gotta stay home. And then, after 3 months, everyone's like, holy, my mental's, at an all-time low. And I think once you get outside, you realize, like, wow, this sense of community is, like, way better for my mental health and gets better. But I think the smaller steps leading into the big festival really helps for people that are still a bit unsure, You get to warm up a little bit and then get to the big one and realize how fun it is.
So for young professionals that may be listening or watching and or, a business owner who's got young staff people, what are the skills that an experience like being the Oktoberfest ambassador, how does that experience accelerated some new skills for you? Like, what are the things you're taking away from this role? Yeah,
I'm definitely taking away, like, talking. My talking's definitely improved, I would say, from, before. Also getting out there and, being myself, being more creative. I got to do a lot more stuff on the creative side that maybe I would have pushed down when I was like, not it. I get to now do a bunch of like social media stuff that's really cool and being active with that. And then just seeing like, all these traditional stuff that's really cool, that you get that skill of like learning culture without, going to another country is really cool.
Okay, so if you're fast forward, you're partway through your term as ambassador, and it comes to you end at the end of Oktoberfest 2026, right? And then there's a new ambassador. Is that the way that? Okay, so you're roughly halfway through your term. If you cast your eyes forward and say, what would you like the legacy of your time as ambassador to be? Like, how would you, when your year concludes, how would you like to be remembered in terms of what you did as ambassador? Yeah, so I'm the first male ever. Yeah, it's true. Which is crazy, but I don't want to be known just for that, obviously, because that's a big deal. But I want to be known on, I might be the first male, but this is a really good step and a change that's going to help, bring diversity. And I want people to look back and be like, Andre made this festival 10 times what it was. It's way more inclusive, way more, friendly, way more about the community. And they look back and they're like, yeah, Andre did, an insanely good job. And that's something that now we can strive towards with the continuous years. And when we get new ambassadors, they come along and keep going. And for younger generations, I wanted them to look up to me and be like, yeah, I can be the ambassador one day. I think this year we had four people running to be ambassador. I want next year to be 14. I want people to want it and be like, this is something I want. I want to be involved in the community. So that's what my legacy wants to be from it. And if you look ahead, not necessarily from the ambassador, but what's next for you? I mean, where are you most focused on making an impact and taking this experience to the next level? Yeah, I want to stay involved with Oktoberfest as much as I can, and if I can't for whatever reason, I'd like to get involved with the community more and do it outside of KW and all that. I'd love to travel a bit and see the world, but that's like, I think everyone wants to do that when they're young. But I definitely want to get more involved with the community and try to stick around and make people know, and they're like, yeah, Andre's that guy that we can count on in the community to step up and be a good leader. That's always a good legacy to
Yes.
be the go-to guy. Listen, before we wrap up, and this podcast is a little bit about talking to community leaders and across, whether it's in business or in not-for-profits, folks that are leaders in all kinds of ways. But it is about their stories, but also about leadership. And so we always ask the same set of questions, so it's basically our rapid fire questions. So are you ready? I've got a series of quick hitters here. Okay. If you could go back in time, although you're still pretty young, but I would say if you could go back and tell your younger self something, what would it be?
I would tell myself that you are the only person you're guaranteed to live with for the rest of your life. So make sure you're in good company and work on yourself, because then you can, help others.
That's actually very good. A good answer. Who or what inspires you to, in your journey of life?
Yeah, so my mom, and she definitely inspires me, and she doesn't get the enough recognition she deserves. I mean, kids are crazy. My sister and I, don't always show up for everything we need to and tell her, but my mom has worked very hard in her life to get us to where we are and shape us, and it hasn't been, we haven't made it easy, my sister and I, so she definitely is a huge inspiration for me. People say it was the greats, but I think your family is always people to look up to if you have, a good family.
There's mothers all over the place watching this who are saying, good boy for mentioning your mom, so good for you. My mom will be one of them.
Mom's probably going to cry when she says that.
If you weren't in your current career, so, in sort of that healthcare field, what would you be doing instead?
That's a hard question. I always wanted to go back to school. After high school, I worked right away. I'd love to go back and do something maybe still helping. I thought about kinesiology, because that's, still helping people and moving around. And I like some sports, so like sports injuries. I also thought about like biology. So maybe going back to school would be definitely, if I wasn't in my career, I'd go back to school, I think, and then decide what I want to do.
You're still so young. That's not off the table for you. So it's an open door for you. Are you reading a book? Do you read or watch podcasts? What's your go-to to kind of either for thinking or for kind of relaxing?
Yeah, I like to read books sometimes, for sure. I have a few books, I like, the business ones like Think and Grow Rich. I like those things, but I also like just, the outdoors and just going out and relaxing and just, being one with nature. I love nature, and that's, really, it helps me unwind after stress.
That's great. Okay, and I always ask this, and it doesn't have to be a restaurant, but what's your favorite go-to local business? Is it a coffee shop? Is it a restaurant? Is it a bookstore? What's your go-to?
I have a go-to restaurant. I used to gatekeep it a little bit because it was like my hidden gem, but I won't gatekeep it. I could be mispronouncing it. It's called Dagu Hot Pot. It's this little corner hot pot place in Uptown Waterloo, and everyone can go there that's listening now. But I love it because you go in, the staff is so friendly. You sit around with your friends or family, eat hot pot together. The meal itself is so community engaging, and so connecting.
Where is it in Uptown?
So do you know where Mongolian Grill used to be?
Yeah.
Okay, so in that same plaza, there's a dessert place called D-Spot.
Yeah.
Right beside D-Spot, in that little corner, tucked away, is this place called Dagu Hot Pot.
I have to check it out. It's not far from my place.
I would go there. 10 out
Okay,
of 10.
if someone wants to catch up with you and learn more about the ambassador program, or get to know you personally, where can listeners go to connect with you?
So there's 3 places, 4 actually. There's obviously KW Oktoberfest, Instagram, Facebook, everywhere. There's the KW Oktoberfest Ambassador. That's the page that, for me. And then there's my personal social, André Killingbeck, just my name. As you see a bunch of pictures of my cars because I like my car. And then, I live in the city. If you see me around, I tell people all the time, festivals, events, anything, come up to me. I would love to talk to everyone. Just come talk to me.
Well, you're doing a great job. I've heard nothing but good things. I appreciate you coming in and talking to us, or me, and our listeners about the ambassador program and your role in doing that this year. Really appreciate you coming in today.
I appreciate you for having me. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Behind the Business, proudly presented by Gore Mutual, insurance that does good. New episodes drop every Thursday, so be sure to tune in next week. You can also visit greaterkwchamber.com to catch up on past episodes anytime. We'll see you next time as we continue to go behind the business.